Pinocchio by Carlo Lorenzini. Chapter 1. Geppetto is a lively little old man, and he lives alone. But he doesn't like this, because he is bored of living alone. One day he goes to his friend. His friend is a carpenter, and his name is Master Cherry. "Good day, Master Cherry," says Geppetto. "How are you?" "Good day, Geppetto. I'm fine, thank you. And how are you, Geppetto?" says Master Cherry. "I'm fine, but I'm a little bored," says Geppetto. "What's the matter? What can I do for you?" asks Master Cherry. "I'm bored of living alone, but this morning an idea came into my head." "Let us hear it." "I thought I would make a beautiful wooden puppet, but that puppet should talk and dance like an acrobat. With this puppet I would travel around the world to earn a piece of bread," says Geppetto. "And what can I do for you?" asks again Master Cherry. "I want a piece of wood to make my puppet. Please give me some." Master Cherry goes inside, takes a piece of wood, and gives it to his friend Geppetto. "Thank you very much, my friend. I'm so happy that I have some wood to make a puppet," says Geppetto, and he returns to his home happily. Chapter 2. Geppetto lives in a small ground floor room, and the room has very little light. In the room there is an old chair, a bed, and a broken table. At the end of the room there is a fireplace with a lighted fire. Geppetto gets home, takes his tools, and begins to work. He begins to cut the wood to make his puppet. "What name shall I give him?" he thinks while he is working. "I think I can call him Pinocchio. This name can make him lucky in the life." After finding a name for his puppet, he begins to work in good earnest. First he makes his hair, then his forehead, and then his eyes. Then he makes his nose, but his nose begins to grow. It grows and grows and grows. Poor Geppetto tries to cut it, but it continues to grow. Suddenly, the puppet begins to laugh to his father Geppetto. "Stop laughing," says Geppetto. But the puppet doesn't stop laughing. Geppetto continues to work. He makes his hands, his legs, and his feet. Then he takes the puppet under the arms and puts him on the floor to teach him to walk. Geppetto gives him his hands and shows him how to walk. Pinocchio begins to walk by himself and begins to run in the room. Suddenly, he jumps into the street and escapes. Poor Geppetto runs after him, but he cannot catch him. He is too old to catch him. "Stop him! Stop him!" shouts Geppetto. But the people in the street only look at the puppet and laugh. At last, a policeman hears Geppetto, runs, and catches the puppet. Geppetto goes near his puppet and wants to pull his ears. But he cannot find the ears because he has forgotten to make ears for the puppet. Finally, he takes the puppet and wants to return home. The puppet doesn't want to go with him, and they start to quarrel in front of the people and the policeman. "Geppetto is a very bad old man. Poor puppet, he is right," say some of the people. "Geppetto is a good man. The puppet is very naughty," say some of the people. At the end of the quarrel, the policeman takes Geppetto and puts him in prison, and the puppet returns home lonely. Pinocchio arrives at the house, goes in, and sits on a chair. He feels himself very happy because he is alone at home and he can do everything he wants. But after a little time, suddenly he hears a noise. "Creak, creak, creak," says the noise. "Who calls me?" asks Pinocchio in a fright. "It's me!" Pinocchio turns around and sees a big cricket on the wall. "Tell me, cricket, who are you?" "I am the talking cricket, and I am living in this room." "Now this room is mine. Go away from this room," says Pinocchio. "No, I do not want to go because now I want to tell you a great truth," says the cricket. "Tell it to me, but be quick," says Pinocchio. The children must listen to their parents. The naughty children are not good in the world, and in the future they repent bitterly. Pinocchio listens to the cricket, but he does not like these words. Tomorrow I will escape from here because I do not want to go to school. I do not like studying. I like playing, running after butterflies, or climbing trees, says Pinocchio. In the future, you will be like a donkey. You must go to school and study your lessons. You must listen to your parents, answers the cricket. Pinocchio becomes very angry. He shouts and hits the cricket. Geppetto is in the prison and Pinocchio is alone at home. All day Pinocchio stays and does not eat anything. In the evening, he becomes hungry and wants to eat something. He goes to the kitchen, but he cannot find anything to eat. He starts to miss his father Geppetto. He returns to the room and sits near the window. He is very tired and hungry. He begins to cry desperately and says, "The talking cricket was right. I did wrong to my father. I escaped from home. It was wrong." It's a wild and a stormy winter's night. There is a tremendous thunder outside. Pinocchio begins to get afraid of the night and the thunder. He feels his hunger again. He decides to go out and look for some food. He closes the door and goes out to the village. It's very dark. There is nobody in the streets and the shops are closed. He thinks that somebody can give him some bread. He goes to a house and rings the bell. A little old man appears at a window and calls him angrily. "What do you want at this time of night?" "I'm very hungry. Would you please give me a little bread?" answers Pinocchio. "Wait here. I will be back directly," says the old man. He thinks that Pinocchio is a naughty street child. After half a minute, he returns to the window and shouts to Pinocchio, "Come under the window and hold out your cap." When Pinocchio pulls off his cap, an enormous basin of water comes over his head. He becomes wet from head to foot. He returns home like a wet chicken. He sits near the fire to dry himself, and then he falls asleep. Near the fire, his feet begin to burn, but poor Pinocchio is not aware of his burning feet, so he continues to sleep. At daybreak, he awakes because someone knocks at the door. "Who's there?" he asks, yawning and rubbing his eyes. "It's me," answers a voice, and the voice is Geppetto's. Poor Pinocchio is still sleepy. His eyes are half shut from sleep, and he does not discover that he does not have his feet. He wakes up and wants to open the door, but he cannot walk. When he stands up, he falls down. "Open the door!" shouts Geppetto from the street. "Dear Papa, I cannot," answers the puppet. He cries and rolls about on the ground. "Why cannot you?" "Because I do not have my feet." "Open the door, I tell you," repeats Geppetto. "I cannot stand up, believe me. Oh, poor me, poor me." Geppetto believes Pinocchio and decides to climb up the wall and get in from the window. When he gets in, he sees Pinocchio lying on the ground. He takes him in his arms and begins to kiss. "My little Pinocchio," cries the old father. Geppetto asks about the night, and Pinocchio tells him about his hunger, the talking cricket, and the little old man. Geppetto gives him some food. Pinocchio eats it and forgets his hunger. After some time, the puppet begins to cry and to grumble because he wants a pair of new feet. But Geppetto allows him to cry and to despair for a half day because he wants to punish him for his naughtiness. Then he says to him, "Why should I make you new feet? If I make you new feet, you can escape from home again." "I promise you that I will be good. I will not escape. I will go to school. I will study my lessons." Geppetto thinks for a while. He doesn't say another word. He takes his tools, 2 pieces of wood, and he starts to work. After an hour, he finishes the feet. Then he says to the puppet, "Close your eyes and go to sleep." And Pinocchio closes his eyes and sleeps. Geppetto fastens the feet in their place with a little glue. When the puppet wakes up, he sees that he has new feet, and he jumps from his place. He goes near his father and says, "Thank you very much, Papa. I promise you that I will go to school at once." "Good boy," says Geppetto. "But first I need some clothes," says Pinocchio. Geppetto is a poor man. He does not have money. He makes him a little dress of flowered paper, a pair of shoes from the tree. Pinocchio wears his clothes and looks at himself and says, "I look like a gentleman." "Yes," says Geppetto, "they are not very good clothes, but they are clean clothes. But to go to school I need something else." "And what is it?" "I have no spelling book." "Yes, you are right, but we do not have money," says the good old man very sadly, and Pinocchio becomes sad also. "Well, patience!" exclaims Geppetto. Geppetto takes his old coat and runs out of the house. He sells his coat and buys a spelling book for his son. Pinocchio becomes very happy and kisses his father. Pinocchio understands that he has a very good father. Chapter 3. In the morning, Pinocchio sets out for school and takes his fine spelling book with him. He walks to school and imagines 1,000 things in his little brain. He says to himself, "Today I will learn to read. Tomorrow I will begin to write. Then I will earn a lot of money, and with my first money I will buy a beautiful new coat for my papa." In this great feeling, he hears a sound of music from far away. He stops and listens. The sound comes from the end of the cross street. He goes nearer, and he begins to like the music. With the sound, he changes his decision. "Today I will go and listen to the music. Tomorrow I will go to school," he thinks. At last he finds himself in the middle of people, and he asks a boy, "What's happening here?" "This is a great puppet theater, and the play is beginning now," answers the boy. "How much is one ticket?" "2 pence." Pinocchio loses control and says, "I will sell you my new spelling book, and would you give me 2 pence?" The boy does not want to buy the book. An old man hears them talking and comes near and says, "I will buy your spelling book for 2 pence." Pinocchio sells his book and goes in to watch the puppet theater. Pinocchio begins to watch the show. All the people are watching the puppets and laughing at them. In the middle of the show, one of the puppets sees Pinocchio and recognizes him. "I cannot believe in my eyes, friends. Our brother Pinocchio is here," says the puppet. "Pinocchio came here to me," cries the other puppet. Pinocchio goes near to his friends. The puppets put him on their shoulders and carry him. But the audience do not like this and start to shout. At that moment, the showman comes in. He sees Pinocchio on the shoulders and gets very angry. "Why are you destroying my show? I will give you your punishment," says the showman angrily and goes to his room. Pinocchio gets afraid of the showman. When the show finishes, the showman wants Pinocchio to go to his room, and the puppets bring Pinocchio to his room. "We need some fire in the kitchen, and I will use you to have fire," says the showman. When Pinocchio hears this, he starts to scream, "Papa, Papa, save me! I do not want to die!" "Is your papa still alive?" asks the showman. "Yes, and he will be very sorry if I burn," says Pinocchio, crying. "What's your father's name?" "Geppetto." "And what's his job?" "He is a beggar." "Does he earn much?" "He never has money in his pocket. He sold his coat and bought a spelling book for me." "Poor old man, I feel sorry for him." "Okay, Pinocchio, I will not give you punishment. Here are 5 gold pieces. Go to your home and give these gold pieces to your father." Thank you very much," says Pinocchio 1,000 times. Pinocchio says goodbye to his puppet friends and sets out to return home. On the way home, Pinocchio meets a fox and a cat. "Good day, Pinocchio," says the fox politely. "How do you know my name?" asks the puppet. "I know your father. I see him at the door. He is looking for you and he is cold because he has not got his coat on." "Poor papa, in the future I will be good. I will become a gentleman." "A gentleman? You?" says the fox, and he begins to laugh. "You can see here are 5 gold pieces." "And now," asks the fox, "what are you going to do with that money?" "First of all, I want to buy a new coat for my papa, and then a spelling book for myself." "Would you like to double your money?" "How can I do that?" "It's very easy. You must come with us." And where will we go? To the land of the owls. Pinocchio thinks for a moment and says, "No, I will not come with you. I will return home to my papa. He is waiting for me." "Well, you return home, but it is bad for you," says the cat. "Think well, Pinocchio. Your 5 gold pieces will be 2,000 tomorrow," says the fox. Pinocchio thinks again and asks, "How can it be? Can you explain it?" "In the land of the owl, you will put your money in a hole, and then you will water it. The next morning in the hole, you will find a tree with lots of gold pieces," explains the fox. After these words, Pinocchio starts to think about his money. He forgets his papa, the new coat, the spelling book, and all the other things. He decides to go with the fox and the cat and says, "I will come with you. Let's go." They walk and walk and walk until the evening. In the evening, they arrive at the Inn of the Red Crawfish. "Let's stop here. We may eat something and we may rest a little, and we can continue to our road at midnight, and in the morning we can arrive to the land of the owl," says the fox. They go into the inn and sit down at a table. The cat and the fox start to eat the meals. They eat lots of things, but poor Pinocchio cannot eat anything because he only thinks about his gold pieces. They finish their meals and the fox says to the host, "Give us 2 good rooms, one for Mr. Pinocchio, one for me and my friend. We will sleep a little, and at midnight we will continue on our journey." "Yes, gentlemen," answers the host. Pinocchio goes to his room and falls asleep. He begins to dream. In his dream, he is in the middle of a field, and the field is full of gold plants. Pinocchio picks those beautiful gold plants and puts them in his pocket. But in the middle of his dream, he suddenly hears a noise and wakes up. The host knocks on his door. "Mr. Pinocchio, it is midnight," says the host. "Okay, are my friends ready?" asks the puppet. "Your friends are not here." "Where are they?" "The cat has received a message from his kitten, and they left 2 hours ago, and here is a note from them to you." Pinocchio reads the note. In the note it says, "Tomorrow morning we will be in the land of the owl." Poor Pinocchio pays for the meal and for the rooms, and he sets out for the land of the owl. It is midnight, and all around it is very dark. Pinocchio cannot see around very well. He walks along, and suddenly he sees a little light. He goes near the light and sees that it is the light of an insect. "Who are you?" asks Pinocchio. "I am the ghost of the talking cricket," answers the insect in a low voice. "What do you want from me?" says the puppet. "I want to give you some advice. Go back and give the 4 gold pieces to your father." "By tomorrow my papa will be a gentleman. These 4 gold pieces would become 2,000. "Don't trust it, my boy. Listen to me and go back to your father." "No, I am determined to go on. The hour is late. I am determined to go on. The night is dark. I am determined to go on. The road is dangerous. I am determined to go on. Remember that the naughty boys have their punishments. Listen to me and go back to your home." "You always tell the same story. Good night, Cricket." "Good night, Pinocchio. Don't forget that I want to prevent you from dangers." After these words, the talking cricket goes his way and the road becomes darker. Pinocchio continues on his road and he thinks on the talking cricket's words. After a little time, he hears a noise from the plants. He turns back to look. He sees 2 dark figures. They run on tiptoe after him. He thinks that they are assassins and he wants to hide the gold pieces. He puts them in his mouth, under his tongue. Then he tries to escape, but he feels the arms on his shoulder. "Your money or your life," says the voice. Pinocchio is not able to answer because of the gold. He tries to make some gestures with his hands. "Come now, give your money without saying or doing something," cries the voice threateningly. And the puppet makes gestures again. He wants to say, "I have not got money." "Give your money or you will be dead," says the tallest one. "Dead," repeats the other. "After killing you, we will kill your father also." No, 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 not my poor papa, cries Pinocchio. Ah, you rascal! You hide your money under your tongue. Give it to us. They force him to open his mouth, but he does not open it. The shorter assassin shows a knife and handles Pinocchio's mouth. At that moment, Pinocchio sees a cat's paw, and he understands that one of the assassins is a cat. Then Pinocchio escapes from them and begins to run quickly across the country. The assassins run after him. After a race of some minutes, Pinocchio cannot run any more. He climbs to a tree and sits on a branch. The assassins attempt to climb after him, but they cannot climb, and so they put some fire under the tree. Pinocchio sees the fire and thinks, I do not want to burn, I do not want to die. And Pinocchio jumps from the tree. He starts to run again. The assassins follow him. The night finishes and the day begins, but Pinocchio still escapes from the assassins. Suddenly, Pinocchio finds a deep, dirty water. He jumps and passes the water, but the assassins cannot pass, and they fall into the middle of the water. After this, Pinocchio thinks that he is safe. But when he looks back, he sees that they are coming out of water and continue to follow him. Pinocchio continues to escape, and at the same time he looks around to find a safe place. At that moment, he sees a white house in the middle of the trees. I will reach this house and I will be safe, thinks Pinocchio. He arrives to the house and knocks on the door. No one answers. He knocks again and again. Then a girl with blue hair opens the window. Open the door for me, says Pinocchio. No one lives in this house, says the girl and disappears. You cannot escape from us again. Pinocchio hears the voice behind him. Will you open your mouth? Says one of the assassins. But Pinocchio does not open his mouth. I know what we can do. We will hang him, says the other assassin. They hang Pinocchio to a big tree. Then they sit down and wait for his hat. At the end of the 3 hours, the puppet's eyes are still open and his mouth closed. They decide to go and say to Pinocchio, Goodbye, little puppet. We will come tomorrow and we will take your money. Wait for us here. Little by little, his eyes begin to close and his mouth open. There is no one around and he feels death. Then he remembers his father. Oh, Papa, Papa, how much I miss you. Chapter 4. Pinocchio hangs on the tree like a dead boy. The beautiful girl with blue hair comes again to the window. She sees the unhappy puppet hanging on the tree. She claps her hands 3 times. After this signal, a bird comes near the window. I am here. What are your orders, little fairy? Asks the bird. Do you see the puppet on the tree? I see him. Fly there and rescue him. The bird flies, and after 2 minutes he returns. Now he is sleeping on the grass, says the bird. The fairy claps her hands again, and 2 dogs come near the window. Under the tree there is a puppet sleeping. His health is not good. Pick him up and bring him to me, says the fairy to the dogs. The dogs bring the puppet to the fairy. She takes the poor puppet in her arms and carries him into a little room. She calls the doctor. The doctor comes immediately. He sees that he has a very high fever. He gives some medicine to Pinocchio. The fairy gives the medicine to the puppet. Drink it, and in a few days you will be cured, says the fairy. Are they sweet or bitter? Asks Pinocchio in a quiet voice. They are bitter. If they are bitter, I do not want to drink it. Listen to me. Drink it. I do not like bitter things. Drink it. If you drink it, I will give you some sugar. Where is the sugar? Here it is, says the fairy, and she shows the sugar. First give me sugar. I promise you I will drink the medicine, says the puppet. The fairy believes in the puppet and gives him the sugar. But Pinocchio swallows the sugar first and does not drink the medicine, and he insists on not drinking the medicine. If you do not drink your medicine, you will die, says the fairy. I do not care. I do not want to drink the medicine, says Pinocchio. At that moment, 4 rabbits enter the room. They carry a little bear on their shoulders. Pinocchio sees the rabbits and the bear, and he becomes afraid. The rabbits go near the puppet and say, "In a few minutes you will die, and we are here to take you to the other world." This time, Pinocchio gets afraid a lot and says, "Oh, fairy, fairy, give me my medicine. Be quick. I do not want to die. I want to live." After drinking his medicine, the rabbit leaves the room, and Pinocchio recovers very quickly. He begins to play in the room. "Now come here to me and tell me about your adventure about assassins," says the fairy. Pinocchio tells her all about the showman, his gold pieces, and the fox and the cat. "And where are the 4 gold pieces now?" asks the fairy. "I've lost them," says Pinocchio, but he tells a lie. They are in his pocket. When he says this, suddenly his nose grows. "Where did you lose them?" "In the woods near here." At this second lie, his nose grows again. "If you have lost them near here, we will look for them and we can find them." "Ah, I remember now. I have not lost them. I have swallowed them when I was drinking my medicine," says Pinocchio, but he lies again. And at this third lie, his nose grows again, so much that he cannot move his head. The fairy looks at him and laughs. "What are you laughing at?" asks Pinocchio. "I am laughing at your lies." "How can you know this?" "I know because of your nose. When you tell a lie, your nose grows," says the fairy. Pinocchio feels ashamed and tries to run out of the room, but he cannot pass through the door because of his nose. Pinocchio begins to cry. He cries for a half hour, and the fairy continues to laugh at him because she wants to give him a lesson. After 20 minutes, the fairy claps her hands again, and Pinocchio's nose becomes shorter and shorter. "You are a very good fairy. I love you so much," says Pinocchio, and dries his eyes. "I love you too," answers the fairy. "I'm thinking of my father. I miss him so much." "I have told him. He will come here tonight." "Really?" shouts Pinocchio. "I want to meet him on the road. Can I go?" asks Pinocchio. "Go, but be careful. Go from this road," says the fairy, and shows him the road. Pinocchio sets out and begins to run like a kid. But some time later he hears a noise. The noise comes from the bushes. He looks around and he sees 2 friends, the fox and the cat. "How are you, Pinocchio? What are you doing here?" says the fox and kisses him. "What are you doing here?" repeats the cat. "It's a long story. Last night I met with assassins on the road," answers Pinocchio. "Oh, poor Pinocchio! What did they want?" "They wanted to rob my gold pieces, but I ran away from them, and they followed me and they hung me to a tree." "And now what are you doing here?" asks the fox. "I'm waiting for my papa." "And where are your gold pieces?" "They're in my pocket." "We are going to the land of the owls. If you want to double your money, you can come with us." "Today I cannot come with you. I will go another day." "But another day you can't do that because today is the last day." "Is it too far from here?" asks Pinocchio. "No, it's very near," answers the fox. Pinocchio thinks of the fairy, old Geppetto, and the warnings of the talking cricket, but he decides to go with the fox and the cat. "Let's go. I'll come with you," says Pinocchio. They walk and walk and walk. Finally they come to an empty place. There is no one. "Here is the land of the owl," says the fox. Pinocchio puts his gold pieces into a hole, and he waters the hole. "Now we can go away. You can return after 20 minutes, and you will find thousands of gold," says the fox. The poor puppet thanks the fox and the cat, and says, "I will buy you a beautiful present." "We do not want any present. We do not do goodness for a present," says the fox and the cat. "You are very good friends," says Pinocchio, and goes. The puppet returns to town and begins to count the minutes. After 20 minutes, he goes back to the land of the owl. He walks very quickly. At the same time, he dreams of his gold pieces. He arrives in the field. He looks around. At that moment, he hears a laugh near him. He looks up and he sees a large bird. "Why are you laughing?" asks Pinocchio. "I'm laughing at you." The puppet says nothing. He looks around again. The bird continues to laugh. "Why are you laughing at me?" asks Pinocchio. "I'm laughing at you because you believe in silly things." "Silly things?" "Yes, you believe that money can grow like a tree. That is a silly thing." "Money cannot grow like a tree. You can only earn your money," says the bird. "And where is my 4 gold pieces?" asks Pinocchio. "I will explain it to you. Have patience. When you were in town, the fox and the cat returned here and they took the money and they went in a hurry," says the bird. Pinocchio does not want to believe in the parrot. He looks carefully to the hole, but he cannot find his money. He becomes very sad. He goes back to town and goes to the courts of justice. He wants to tell him about the robbery. He goes near the judge, he tells the whole story, and the judge listens to Pinocchio. When the puppet finishes his story, the judge rings a bell. After the bell, 2 men come. "The cat and the fox have robbed this puppet's 4 gold pieces. Put the puppet in prison," says the judge, and he points to the puppet. The puppet is surprised, but he cannot do anything. The 2 men take him to prison. The poor puppet stays in prison for 4 months. Chapter 5. After 4 months, he escapes from prison. He leaves town immediately and takes the road to the fairy's house. On the road, he thinks about the fairy and his father. "I am a very bad boy. I do not listen to my father. I do not listen to my elders. I am a naughty boy, but I will change. I will be a good boy. I will listen to my father, to my elders," thinks Pinocchio. While he is thinking this, he stops suddenly. He looks at the ground. He sees a serpent. Its skin is green. It has red eyes and has a tail. Pinocchio becomes afraid and cannot pass the road. He sits far from the serpent and he waits. He waits 3 hours, but the serpent does not move. At last, Pinocchio goes near the serpent and says softly, "Excuse me, Sir Serpent, can I pass the road, please?" But the serpent does not give an answer, and it does not move. Pinocchio repeats, "Sir Serpent, I am going to my home. My father is waiting for me. Can I pass the road?" The serpent does not give an answer again. This time, Pinocchio thinks that the serpent is dead, and he jumps over him. But when he jumps, the serpent moves, and Pinocchio falls down. The serpent begins to laugh at Pinocchio. At this time, the poor puppet runs very quickly and escapes. He wants to go to the fairy's house, but he feels hungry. He sees some grapes in a field. He wants to take the grapes. He jumps into the field, but in the field there is a trap. He does not see the trap and he falls down again. Pinocchio begins to cry and scream. There is nobody around the field. He cries and cries. In the end, a man comes. He is the owner of the field. "Ah, little thief," says the man. "No, I am not a thief. I only want to take some grapes because I am very hungry," says Pinocchio. "You want to steal my grapes. I will give you a punishment." He takes Pinocchio to his house and he puts him into the dog's house. "My dog has died today. This night you will be my dog and you will not sleep. You will wait for the thieves. You will save my chicken," says the man. And the man goes to his house. At midnight, Pinocchio hears strange voices. He looks around and sees 4 cats. The 4 cats come near Pinocchio and say, "Good evening, Melampo." "My name is not Melampo," answers the puppet. "Oh, who are you?" "I am Pinocchio." "And what are you doing here?" "I'm waiting for the thieves." "Where is Melampo?" "He is the old dog. He died this morning." "Poor dog. He was not a very good dog. But I think you are a good dog." "I'm not a dog, I'm a puppet." "Yes, you are a good puppet. We want something from you," says one of them. "What is it?" asks Pinocchio. "Every week, one night, you will give us 8 chickens. We will eat 7 chickens. We will give you 1 chicken. Melampo did this for us, and this time you will do this. Pinocchio thinks a little and says, "Okay." The cats go near the chickens. At this time, Pinocchio begins to scream, and the owner of the house comes near Pinocchio. "What's the matter?" asks the man. "There are robbers," answers Pinocchio. "Where are they?" "They are near the chickens." The man goes near the chickens, too, and sees the 4 cats there. He catches them, and he returns near Pinocchio. "Thank you, little puppet. You are a good puppet. You are very honest. You have caught the thieves. Your punishment finishes. Tomorrow morning you can go to your house," says the man. In the morning, Pinocchio leaves the house and continues on his road. He reaches the road near the fairy's house. Pinocchio looks around, but he cannot see the house. He goes nearer, but there is no house there. He cannot see anything there, and he begins to cry. "Oh, little fairy, where are you? Where is my father? Where can I find him? I want to die," says Pinocchio, and cries. When he cries, a large bird comes and stops near Pinocchio. "Tell me, child, what are you doing here?" asks the bird. "I'm crying," says Pinocchio. "What's your name? Are you the puppet Pinocchio?" "Yes, I am Pinocchio," says Pinocchio, and he gets excited. "Do you know Geppetto?" asks the bird. "He's my poor papa. Where is he? Is he still alive?" asks Pinocchio. "Yes, he is alive, and now he is in the sea, in a little boat. He's looking for you. Is the shore far from here?" "It is a little far, but I can carry you to the shore." "Really?" "Yes, come and sit on my back." Pinocchio sits on the back of the bird. The bird flies, and after one day they arrive to the shore. The shore is very crowded. Everybody is looking at the sea. "What has happened?" asks Pinocchio to an old woman. "A poor father is looking for his son. He is in a little boat. And today the sea is very bad. The boat is in danger." "Where is the little boat?" "It's over there," says the old woman, and shows the boat with her finger. Pinocchio looks at the boat and begins to scream. "It's my papa! It's my papa!" He begins to call his father. "Papa, papa, I'm here! Come back!" But Geppetto does not hear Pinocchio. Pinocchio repeats his words again. "Papa, come back! I am here!" Geppetto doesn't hear. He continues on his way. He goes very far. At that moment, a wave comes and takes Geppetto. He disappears. "Poor man," says a fisherman. Pinocchio jumps into the sea, begins to swim, and he says, "I will save my papa." He swims the whole night. It is a horrible night. There are waves in the sea, and it rains. In the morning, he sees an island in the middle of the sea. He goes to the island. Little by little, the sun begins to shine, and the sea becomes quiet. Pinocchio looks in every direction. He wants to find his father. He looks and looks, but he cannot see anything in the sea. "Where am I? What place is this?" Pinocchio thinks in the middle of the island. He feels himself very lonely. He begins to cry. At that moment, he sees a big fish. The fish swims near the island. Pinocchio does not know his name, but he calls him. "Sir Fish, I want to say something. Can you come here?" "Yes," says the fish, and goes near Pinocchio. "Is there a village on this island? I am very hungry and I want to eat something." "Yes, there is a village here, and you can have your meal in that village." "Where is the village? Can you show me the way?" "You have to go from the left road." "Okay, thank you. And I want to ask you another question. Have you seen a little boat with my papa in the sea last night?" "Who's your papa?" "His name is Geppetto. He was in the sea with his boat the whole night." During the night there was a storm in the sea, and there was a very big shark. The shark eats everything in the sea, and your papa now can be in the stomach of the shark. Pinocchio hears these words, and he becomes very sad. "Thank you," says Pinocchio, and he takes the left road. He walks very fast. He wants to go to the village very quickly. After half an hour, he reaches a little village. The name of the village is the Village of the Industrious Bees. In this village, all the people like working. Ah, says lazy Pinocchio, I cannot live in this village because I do not like working. At that moment, he feels his hunger again. He sees a man. He carries 2 bags. Pinocchio looks at the face of the man and thinks, I think he is a good man. He will give me some food. Excuse me, I am very hungry. Can you give me some money? I want to buy food, says Pinocchio in a low voice. Yes, of course. I can give you money. But first of all, you have to work for me. Carry one of these bags, and then I will give you your money, says the man. I am surprised at you. I do not like working. I am not accustomed to working like a donkey. If you do not work, you will not have money, and you will die of hunger, says the man, and he goes. A few minutes later, another man passes down the road. He carries a basket on his shoulders. Excuse me, I'm very hungry. Can you give me some money? I want to buy food, says Pinocchio again. Of course, but first come with me and carry this basket, and then I will give you money. But the basket is very heavy, and I do not want to get tired, says Pinocchio. If you do not want to get tired, you cannot have money, says the man, and goes. After these 2 men, a lot of people pass down the road. Pinocchio asks them the same question, but everybody says the same thing. If you do not, you cannot have your money. At last, a little nice woman passes down the road and she carries 2 cans of water. Can I drink some water from your can? asks Pinocchio, because he is very thirsty. Drink, my boy, says the little woman. She puts the cans on the ground and Pinocchio begins to drink. After drinking, Pinocchio says to the woman, Thank you for the water. I was very thirsty and hungry. I have drunk water now. I need some food. If you will help me carry these 2 cans of water, I will give you a piece of bread, says the good woman. Pinocchio looks at the cans and thinks, If you help me, I can give you a delicious candy, says the woman. Pinocchio looks at the can again and thinks. In the end, he decides to help. I will carry the can to your house, says Pinocchio. The can is very heavy, and Pinocchio cannot carry the can in his hand. He puts the can on his head. When they reach the house, the good little old woman takes Pinocchio to the house. Pinocchio sits down at a small table. She gives him a good meal, and after the meal, she gives him sugar. Pinocchio eats the meal and the sugar very quickly. After the meal, Pinocchio looks at the little woman and says, Thank you very much for the meal. But at that moment, Pinocchio gets excited and opens his eyes widely. Oh, I cannot believe my eyes! Why are you so surprised? asks the woman. You are, answers the puppet. You are like, yes, the same voice, the same eyes, the same hair. Yes, you also have blue hair. Oh, little fairy! Pinocchio runs near the fairy and embraces the fairy. He begins to cry bitterly. Chapter 6. How did you understand that I am the fairy? asks the fairy. I understood from your good heart, says Pinocchio. But before you were a child, now you are a woman. Yes, now I am a woman. I have grown. Teach me how can I grow. I want to grow. But you cannot grow, says the fairy. Why? Because you are a puppet, and puppets never grow. They are born puppets, live as puppets, and die as puppets. Oh, I don't want to be a puppet. I want to become a man. You can become a man. Tell me, how can I do that? It's very easy. You have to be a good boy. Am I a bad boy? Good boys are obedient. And I am not obedient? Good boys like working. And I do not like working. Good boys always speak the truth. And I always tell lies. Good boys go to school willingly. And I do not go to school. But from today on, I will change my life. Do you promise me? I promise you. I will become a good little boy, and I will be near my papa. Where is my papa at this moment? I do not know. I miss him. I want to see him. I want to kiss him. Pinocchio is very happy because he is near the fairy. He takes the fairy's hands and he begins to kiss them. "I'll be your mamma. I believe that you have a very good heart and you will be a good boy. You must obey me," says the fairy. "I will obey you. Tomorrow you will begin to go to school. But I think that it is too late for me to go to school." "No, sir, it is never too late to learn and to instruct ourselves. I will study, I will work, I will do everything that you tell me. I want to be a good boy, and then I want to become a man," says Pinocchio. The next day, Pinocchio goes to school. When the children see a puppet at school, they get surprised. But in a short time, they all make friends with him and like him very much. And the master likes him too. He thinks that Pinocchio is an intelligent, attentive, and studious boy. But Pinocchio has one fault. He makes too many friends. Among these friends, there are naughty boys. The master warns Pinocchio every day, and the fairy warns him too. She always says, "Be careful, Pinocchio. Those bad schoolfellows will affect you badly." "Do not worry, Mamma," answers Pinocchio. One fine day, Pinocchio goes to his school. He meets his friends and they ask, "Have you heard the great news?" "No." "Near here in the sea there is a very big shark." "Really?" Pinocchio remembers his poor papa. "We are going to the shore to see him. Do you want to come with me?" "No, I'm going to school." "We can go to school tomorrow." "But the master can be very angry with us." "We do not care about the master." "And my mamma?" "Mammas know nothing," answers those bad little boys. "I will see the shark after school." "Poor donkey, the shark will not wait for you. He will go from here." Pinocchio thinks that he can find his poor papa in the sea and decides to go to shore. "Wait for me, I'll come with you," says Pinocchio, and they begin to walk to shore. When he arrives on the shore, Pinocchio looks out to sea, but he does not see the shark. "Where's the shark?" he asks. "He might be having his breakfast," says one of them. "Or he might be sleeping," adds another one. They laugh at Pinocchio. From their silly answers and their laughing, Pinocchio understands that they are kidding with him. He gets very angry and says, "Why are you kidding with me and telling me lies about the shark?" "Oh, it's great fun," answers little naughty boys. "It's very funny that you have not gone to school today. Going to school is very boring. We don't like going to school and studying. We want to change you. We want to make you a lazy student," says one of the students. "No, I do not want to be a lazy student. I want to go to school. I want to study my lessons. We hate school, lessons, and the master. They are our enemies, and you will be near us." "No, I will not," says Pinocchio loudly. They all get angry and they begin to quarrel. While they are quarreling, two policemen see them and come near them. The naughty boys escape when they see the two policemen. Only Pinocchio cannot escape. The two policemen ask, "Why are you quarreling?" "I'm not quarreling. I'm just helping my friends." "No, we have seen everything. You have to come with us," says the policeman, and they take Pinocchio. Pinocchio feels ashamed. He begins to think about his fault. He begins to think about his mother's words. While they are walking to the village, Pinocchio's cap flies off. "Can I go and pick up my cap?" asks Pinocchio. "Go then, but be quick," says the policeman. Pinocchio goes and picks up his cap, but he suddenly begins to run very quickly towards the seashore. The policemen think that they cannot run after Pinocchio, and they send a big dog after him. The dog's name is Alidoro. The puppet and the dog run very fast. Pinocchio becomes afraid. He runs and runs and runs and runs. At last he comes near the shore. When he reaches the shore, he jumps into the sea. After Pinocchio, the dog jumps into the sea too, but it cannot swim. It begins to shout, "Help, help! I cannot swim, I will die!" "Die," says Pinocchio, and he continues to swim. "Help, help, Pinocchio!" again says the dog. At that moment, Pinocchio turns to the dog and says, "I will help you, but you will not do anything to me." I promise, be quick." Pinocchio goes and helps the dog. He saves the dog's life, and then he again jumps into the water and says, "Goodbye, Alidoro." He continues to swim, and at last he finds a safe place. But suddenly, a fisherman catches Pinocchio. The fisherman thinks that Pinocchio is a kind of fish. "It's an interesting fish," says the fisherman. "No, I'm not a fish," says Pinocchio. But the fisherman does not hear Pinocchio. He puts him in a pan with other fishes. Pinocchio begins to shout, "I am not a fish, I am a puppet, I am a puppet." This time the fisherman hears Pinocchio and answers, "A puppet is a new fish for me. I can eat you. I will fry you in the pan, and then I will eat you." After this answer, the unhappy Pinocchio begins to cry and scream. "This is my punishment because I did not go to school. I did not listen to my papa. I listened to my friends." The fisherman begins to cook Pinocchio with the fish. He puts oil, salt, and other things in the pan. At that moment, Pinocchio feels that he will die. A big dog comes near the fisherman. It is very hungry and it wants some food. But the fisherman does not want to give food to the dog and says, "Get out!" "Give me some fish and then I will go," says the poor dog. "Get out!" says the fisherman again. The dog turns and walks slowly away. At that moment, a voice comes from the pan. "Save me, Alidoro! If you do not save me, I will die!" The dog recognizes Pinocchio's voice, and it runs toward the fisherman. It takes Pinocchio from the pan and runs very quickly. When Alidoro reaches the road of the village, it stops and puts Pinocchio on the ground. "Thank you very much," says the puppet. "There is no necessity. You saved my life, and now I have saved your life. In this world we must help each other," replies the dog. They kiss each other, and then they separate. Pinocchio sets off for the village. On the road, he thinks and talks to himself. "I am a very bad boy. What will I say to my good little fairy? She will not forgive me. I am a rascal." When he reaches the village, it is night and very dark. It rains and a storm begins. Pinocchio goes to Fairy's house immediately and knocks on the door. He waits and waits. At last, after half an hour, someone opens the window. Pinocchio sees a big snail at the window. She calls, "Who's there?" "Is the fairy at home?" asks Pinocchio. "The fairy is asleep. Who are you?" "It's me." "Who?" "Pinocchio, I am the puppet. I am living in the fairy's house." "Ah, I understand. Wait for me. I will come down and open the door." "Be quick. It's very cold." "My boy, I am a snail, and I cannot walk quickly." An hour passes, 2 hours pass, but the snail does not open the door. Pinocchio gets wet from the rain and trembles of cold. He again knocks on the door. The snail opens the window. "Beautiful little snail, I am very cold. Be quick, please." "I am a snail and I cannot walk quickly," again says the snail. All night Pinocchio waits at the door. The following morning the snail opens the door. "Please bring me some food. I am very tired and I am very hungry," says Pinocchio. "Wait here, I will bring you food," says the snail and goes. Pinocchio waits for 3 hours. After 3 hours, the snail brings a loaf of bread and a chicken. Pinocchio begins to eat the meal, but when he eats, he faints. When he opens his eyes, he is on a bed, and the fairy is beside him. Pinocchio tells everything to the fairy. The fairy forgives him again. "I will be a good boy. I will study and I will always listen to you," promises Pinocchio. For 1 year, Pinocchio goes to school. He studies his lessons. He becomes a very good boy. At the end of 1 year, the fairy says to Pinocchio, "Now you are a good boy, and because of this, tomorrow you will become a boy." Pinocchio becomes very happy, and they decide to give a party at the fairy's house. He invites his friends to the party. Chapter 7. "May I go to town and make invitations for tomorrow?" asks Pinocchio. "Go to town and invite your friends to the party, but do not forget to return home before it gets dark." "I promise to be back in an hour," answers the puppet. Pinocchio goes to town, invites all of his friends to his party, but he cannot find his best friend Romeo Candlewick. Candlewick is a lazy and naughty boy at school. Pinocchio goes to his home, but he is not at home. He looks everywhere, but he cannot find Candlewick. At last, Pinocchio finds Candlewick in the garden. "What are you doing here?" asks Pinocchio. "I am waiting for midnight." "Why? Where are you going?" "I'm going very far away, very far away." "I have news for you." "News? What is it?" "Tomorrow I will become a boy like you, like all the other boys." "That's very nice." "And tomorrow I am giving a party. I invite you to my party." "But I'm going away tonight." "At what time?" "In a short time." "And where are you going?" "I am going to live in a country. It is a delightful country." "And what is the name of the country?" "Its name is Land of Boobies." "You can come with me." "No, never." "You are wrong, Pinocchio. Believe me, it is a very nice country for us. There are no schools, there are no masters, there are no books. In that country we do not have to study. That is the country for me. All day everybody plays, and at night they go to bed." Says Pinocchio. "That's very nice." "Will you come with me?" asks Candlewick. "No, no, no, I promised my good fairy. I must go home. Goodbye, have a nice journey." "Where are you going?" asks Candlewick. "I'm going home. My good fairy is waiting for me." "Wait," says Candlewick. "No, I must go." "Wait only 2 minutes." Pinocchio stops and asks, "Are you going alone?" "I am alone, but there are a lot of boys in the land of the boobies." "Are you going by foot?" "No, a bus will come and take me." "Stay here a little and see." "I have to go. The fairy will be angry with me," says Pinocchio, and continues, "Poor fairy, are you sure that there are no schools in that country?" "Of course I am sure, and there are no masters, no rules. You can play every day." "What a delightful country," thinks Pinocchio. They continue to talk, and Pinocchio does not want to go home. Night comes, and suddenly they see a light far away. They look again at the light, and they understand that it is the bus. "The bus is coming," shouts Candlewick. "Will you come with me, Pinocchio?" "Never, never, never!" "It is a very nice country. It's a very nice country." At last the bus arrives. The bus is very crowded. There are lots of boys, and they are very uncomfortable. The bus stops, and the bus driver comes near Candlewick and asks, "My fine boy, will you come to that beautiful country?" "Yes, yes, yes!" shouts Candlewick. "Okay, but in the bus there are lots of boys, and it is a little uncomfortable." "No matter," replies Candlewick. The bus driver turns to Pinocchio and asks, "And you, little puppet, are you coming with us?" "No, I'm going home. I will study my lessons and I will be a good boy." "Pinocchio!" calls Candlewick. "Listen to me. Come with us. We will be happy in that country." "No, no, no." "Come with us," say the little boys. "Come with us. Come with us." Pinocchio begins to think. He thinks his fairy, his father. Then Candlewick says, "Do not think about others. Come with us. We will be free in that country." "Make a place for me. I am coming too," says Pinocchio. Pinocchio gets on the bus, and they set out for the land of boobies. But on the road, poor Pinocchio only thinks about his fairy. In the morning, they arrive in the land of boobies. It is a very different country. There are only boys. The age of the boys are between 8 and 14. In the streets, the boys are playing, talking, laughing. They are very happy. Pinocchio, Candlewick, and the other boys get off the bus. They see the happy children on the street. They begin to play with them. In that happy country, the days pass very quickly. "Oh, here is a very nice country. Life is very beautiful here," says Pinocchio to his friend Candlewick. "Yes, we are very happy here. In other countries, the boys are unhappy. We are very lucky." "Thank you for inviting me to this country." This beautiful life continues for 5 months. Pinocchio and Candlewick pass their days playing on the streets. They enjoy themselves. They do not think of books or school. One morning, Pinocchio wakes up with a surprise. When he awakens, he discovers something strange in his head. He touches his head and then he touches his ears. He realizes that his ears are very big now. They are like ears of an animal. He gets ashamed of his appearance. He goes in front of the mirror. In the mirror, he sees a pair of donkey's ears. He begins to cry, but when he cries, his ears continue to grow. They grow and grow and grow. A neighbor hears Pinocchio's voice. She comes near Pinocchio and asks, "What's the matter, my boy?" "I am ill. I am very ill," answers Pinocchio. She looks at Pinocchio's fever. "What is it?" asks Pinocchio. "It's donkey fever." "I don't understand. What is it?" "I will explain it. In 2 or 3 hours you will become a little donkey." "I am very unfortunate, Pinocchio cries. "My dear boy, this is a punishment for lazy boys. You do not like studying, you do not like school, and you escape from your duties." "But this is not my fault, this is Candlewick's fault," says Pinocchio. Pinocchio wants to go out, but when he reaches the door, he remembers his big ears. He feels ashamed. He takes a big cap, puts it on his head, and hides his huge ears. Then he sets out. He looks for Candlewick, he looks in the streets, in the theaters, everywhere. At last he goes to his friend's house. He knocks on the door. "Who's there?" asks Candlewick. "It's me," answers the puppet. "Wait a moment, I will open the door." After half an hour, Candlewick opens the door. When Pinocchio sees his friend, he gets surprised because Candlewick has a big cap on his head. "My friend is ill like me," thinks Pinocchio. "How are you, my dear Candlewick?" asks Pinocchio. "Very well." "Are you telling the truth?" "Yes, of course." "Excuse me, but why do you have a big cap on your head?" "Doctor's orders, because my leg aches." "And you, why do you have a big cap on your head?" "Doctor's orders, because my foot aches." "Oh, poor Pinocchio. Oh, poor Candlewick." After these words, the friends did not say anything. They only looked at each other. At last, the puppet said in a low voice, "My friend, I am curious about something." "What is it?" "Do your ears ache?" "Never." "And do your ears ache?" "Never. But since this morning, one of my ears aches." "My ear aches too." "But both of my ears ache now." "Mine too." "Can I see your ears?" asks Pinocchio. "No." "Why not?" "You must be first. Then I will show you my ears." "Well," says the puppet, "we will take off our caps at the same moment. Do you agree?" "I agree." Pinocchio begins to count. 1, 2, 3. At the word 3, the two boys take off their caps. At that moment, they begin to laugh at each other. They laugh and laugh and laugh. But Candlewick suddenly stops laughing and begins to shout, "Help, help, Pinocchio! I do not want to be a donkey." "I do not want to be a donkey," repeats Pinocchio, and the two friends begin to cry and to run in the room. But when they cry, their bodies change, their faces change, their hands change, their feet change, and at last their tails grow. While they are crying, someone knocks on the door, and a voice says, "Open the door! I am the bus driver." Pinocchio and Candlewick become afraid, and they do not open the door. But the bus driver gets angry, and he breaks down the door. "You are very nice. Now you are beautiful donkeys. I am here because I want to take you," says the bus driver, and he takes them. They all go to the market, and the driver sells these two donkeys, Pinocchio and Candlewick. A peasant buys Candlewick, and a showman buys Pinocchio. Pinocchio begins to live in difficulty. He begins to eat the meals of animals. His owner treats him very badly. After 3 months, Pinocchio begins to go to the circus. In the circus, he acts like a donkey. All the children like him very much, but one day, in his show, he has an accident, and he hurts his leg. His owner decides to sell him. This time, a peasant buys Pinocchio, and then he wants to kill him because he wants to use his skin. He takes Pinocchio and they go to the shore. He puts a stone on his neck and throws him to the sea. With the stone, Pinocchio goes to the bottom, and there he becomes again a puppet. He begins to swim and escape from the peasant. When he swims, he sees a big blue light. He goes near the light, but when he approaches, he notices that the light is a dogfish. Poor Pinocchio gets afraid a lot. He swims faster and faster. "Be quick, Pinocchio," he says to himself. He swims for hours. At last he reaches a rock. He tries to get on the rock, but it is useless, because the shark comes very near and it swallows Pinocchio. Pinocchio falls into the shark's stomach. For 15 minutes, Pinocchio does not understand anything. After the shock, he comes to, but all around it is very dark. He cannot see anything, and he begins to cry and scream. "Help! Help! Where am I? Is there anyone here?" "Who's talking?" asks a voice. "It's me, Pinocchio, and who are you?" "I am a little fish." "What will we do here?" "We will try to escape." At that moment, Pinocchio sees a little light at a great distance. He walks and walks. At last, he reaches the light. He finds a little table, and on the table a candle, and at the table sits an old man. He eats some live fish. When Pinocchio sees the old man, he becomes joyful. He wants to laugh, he wants to cry, he wants to say 1,000 things. He runs and embraces the old man. "Oh, my dear Papa, at last we are together," says Pinocchio. "Are you really my dear Pinocchio?" "Yes, yes, I am Pinocchio, really Pinocchio." They embrace each other, and Pinocchio tells the story to his father. "We must escape from here," says Pinocchio. "How can we escape?" "We can escape from the shark's mouth. We can throw ourselves from the mouth." "But, my dear Pinocchio, I do not know how to swim." "I will help you, my dear Papa. I will carry you on my shoulders." They take the candle and begin to walk toward the throat of the shark. They reach the mouth and they begin to wait. When the shark opens its mouth, Pinocchio and Geppetto escape. "Get on my shoulders and put your arms around my neck," says Pinocchio to his papa, and they throw themselves into the water. Pinocchio swims toward the shore. When he swims, he discovers that his father is trembling. Pinocchio thinks that he is trembling with fear. "In a few minutes we will be in the shore safely," says Pinocchio. "But where is the shore? I cannot see the shore." The little old man gets frightened. "But I can see the shore very well," says Pinocchio. He wants to calm his father. The shore is very far away. Pinocchio swims until he has no breath. At last he turns to Geppetto and says, "Papa, help! I'm dying!" The father and the son get frightened. At that moment they hear a voice. "Who is that dying?" "It is me and my poor father." "I am a fish. I can help you. Wait for me," says the little fish. "Hold my tail. I will take you on the shore in a few minutes." Pinocchio and Geppetto hold the tail, and they arrive on the shore safely. On the shore, Pinocchio turns to the fish and says, "Thank you very much. You have saved my father's life. I want to give you a kiss." Pinocchio kisses the fish, and the fish goes away. Pinocchio takes his father's hand, and they begin to walk to the village. On the way, they see the fox and the cat, and they call to Pinocchio, "Pinocchio!" "This time I will not believe in you," says Pinocchio. "We are very sorry. Please forgive us. We were wrong." Pinocchio forgives the fox and the cat, and they go their own ways in peace. At the end of the path they see a nice little house. They go and knock on the door. "Who's there?" says a little voice. "We are a poor father and son, and we are very hungry," answers the puppet, and someone opens the door. Pinocchio and Geppetto get in the house, and they see the talking cricket. "Oh, my dear little cricket," says Pinocchio, "I behaved very badly to you. I am very sorry. Now please help us. We are very hungry." "Forget the past. I will give you food." The cricket gives him food and prepares the bed. Geppetto lies on the bed. Then Pinocchio asks the cricket, "Where can I find milk for my poor papa?" "In the next house lives a gardener. His name is Janjo. Go to him, and you will get milk from him," answers the cricket. Pinocchio runs to Janjo's house, and the gardener asks him, "How much milk do you want?" "I want a glass of milk." "A glass of milk costs half a penny." "But I do not have money." If you do not have money, you cannot get milk. That is very bad, says Pinocchio. Wait a little. If you help me in the garden, I will give you milk, says Giangio. Pinocchio helps Giangio, but when he is in the garden, he sees a donkey. It is very ill. Pinocchio goes near the donkey. He is very ill. He is dying, says Giangio. Pinocchio looks carefully at the donkey and says, I know this little donkey, I am sure. He whispers in the donkey's ears, Who are you? At this question, the little donkey opens his eyes and answers, I am Candlewick, and again closes his eyes. Oh, poor Candlewick, says Pinocchio in a low voice, and he turns to Giangio and says, I must tell you, he is my friend. Your friend? One of my school friends. How can it be? Giangio begins to laugh. Pinocchio feels very sad, and he cannot answer the question. He returns home. For 5 months he continues to work for Giangio and bring milk to his father. Soon his father recovers, and Pinocchio begins to earn money. One day he sees a snail on the road, and he asks, Little snail, please tell me, where is my fairy? The fairy is very ill. She is at the hospital, answers the snail. Oh, my poor fairy, my poor fairy. She is ill because she cannot buy medicine. She does not have money, says the snail. Pinocchio feels very sad, and he gives all of his money to the snail. Take the money and give it to the fairy, says Pinocchio. That night, Pinocchio goes to Giangio and works very hard because he wants to earn more money for his fairy. After working very hard, he goes to bed and falls asleep. When he is sleeping, he sees the good fairy in his dream. She kisses Pinocchio and says, Well done, Pinocchio. You have a very good heart, and now you are a very nice boy. I want to forget about the past. You have become an obedient boy. You help others and you obey your father. At this moment, his dream ends, and Pinocchio opens his eyes. When he opens his eyes, he discovers that he is no longer a puppet. He is a boy. He goes and looks at himself in the mirror. Then he goes near his father. His father embraces and kisses Pinocchio. In the following years, the little boy and his father live together, and they have a happy new life.